Tonight, not guilty. All 5 former World Junior Hockey players are acquitted of sexual assault.
She's reached a just and correct verdict that must be respected.
The judge's decision, the emotional reaction.
The worst possible outcome is to feel disbelieved.
In a high-profile case that ignited a debate about hockey culture and how sexual assault trials are conducted. A shocking crime in a Vancouver suburb. 3 people dead. Cars set on fire after a neighborhood dispute.
Went outside and the neighbor started telling me, he's shooting, he's shooting.
What happened on this normally quiet street? Remembering Hulk Hogan. A pro wrestling legend and a pop culture icon.
At the end of the day, there's one and only one Hulkster.
His complicated, colorful legacy in and outside of the ring.
From CBC News, this is The National with Paul Hunter.
Thanks for joining us. Adrian is away. 5 former World Junior Hockey players at the center of a high-profile sexual assault trial are now free and clear. All of them found not guilty in a case that sparked deep conversation about hockey culture and consent. Outside the Ontario courthouse, lawyers for some of the men called the experience bruising and unnecessary, saying this case should never have made it to trial. A lawyer for the claimant, known as EM, said it should be a wake-up call about how those who report sexual assault are treated. The allegations in this case date back to 2018, and all involved say it's taken a toll. Katie Nicholson with the frustration on display outside the courthouse after that ruling.
As protesters shouted, the 5 accused entered the courthouse to at last learn their fate. Carter Hart, Michael McLeod, Alex Formanton, Dylan Dubé and Cal Foote, all accused of sexually assaulting a woman known as EM in a London, Ontario hotel in June of 2018 after a Hockey Canada event. It was clear as Justice Maria Caracia began reading her decision which way she was leaning. I do not find the evidence of EM to be either credible or reliable, she said, noting over 5 hours of reasoning the many inconsistencies and memory gaps she found in her testimony. All 5 players found not guilty. You're free to go, Caracia said.
How did you feel hearing this verdict?
Free, but opting not to talk. Their lawyers, however, came out swinging.
Political and media pressure brought this allegation back into the spotlight in 2022.
McLeod's lawyer blaming a separate Hockey Canada civil settlement with EM for shaping public perception of the players.
Had they been consulted, they would have refused to settle, and they would have vigorously contested EM's allegations.
Carter Hart's lawyer slamming the Crown's decision to pursue a criminal trial.
Instead of pursuing restorative justice, the Crown forced a distressing and unnecessary trial.
And what about EM, the woman at the heart of the allegations? Her lawyer says she's disappointed.
The worst possible outcome is to feel disbelieved. It's a gutting experience that no one deserves. That's why today's verdict is so devastating.
This mammoth trial, also an education for many, says this law professor.
It is a demonstration, I think, for the public of how difficult sexual assault cases are and how there can be real questions about what happened that are difficult to resolve based on conflicting testimony from different witnesses.
And there is a chance, a small one, it may not yet be over, if you ask the Crown.
And as this case is still within the appeal period, we have no further comments to make about the decision at this time.
And we heard more from the players' lawyers about what this has been like for them, feeling banished from society with these allegations over their head. But now they're hoping to move forward. And on that note, the NHL has said that despite the fact this isn't criminal, the allegations are disturbing and unacceptable. And so far, they are ineligible to play for the NHL.
And Katie, you were inside the courthouse today for that decision. What was that like?
It was remarkable, Paul, because there were so many people here, they had to open 3 courtrooms in order to take in this decision. On the right of me, a man with 2 daughters very much caring about EM, and to the left of me, someone caring about the players who was worried about false accusations. So still a very polarizing issue.
Thank you, Katie. CBC's Katie Nicholson in London, Ontario. Even before the judge's decision, there were concerns from some about how this trial could affect future cases of sexual assault. Yasmin Renea looks at how advocates and legal experts are viewing this high-profile case.
The ruling is not what EM supporters hoped for. All 5 former Hockey Canada players found not guilty of sexual assault.
This entire trial has had a profound chilling effect on sexual assault survivors across Canada.
A trial that has once again raised questions about how the criminal justice system handles sexual assault complaints.
It struggles to understand complicated social interactions, such as victim responses to unpredictable, threatening situations.
EM's lawyer describing the way she was treated during the 7 days of cross-examination as, quote, insulting, mocking, and disrespectful. Advocates say the process that EM went through may deter sexual assault victims from coming forward.
I think what's leaving a lot of people feeling quite uneasy today, which is, what is the point of reporting? What is the point of even talking about any of this?
Cross-examination is a cornerstone of a criminal trial in the search for truth.
The burden on the Crown is there for a reason, because misuse of the state power to bind somebody criminally should always be curtailed.
One of the major issues in this trial, whether EM consented to sexual acts with the players. The Crown argued she was intoxicated and afraid and did not give continued consent. But the judge found her testimony to be unreliable, pointing to so-called consent videos.
Caracia looked at essentially the state that EM was in those consent videos, and did seem to place a fair bit of weight in saying, look, there was essentially no appearance of intoxication or being scared or fearful.
And while this high-profile case will not change the legal definition of consent, it raises important questions for future sexual assault cases. Yasmin Renea, CBC News, Vancouver.
So what does this trial reveal about the justice system? In about 20 minutes, I'll speak with 2 lawyers for their takeaways. And as we focus on this difficult topic, a reminder there is help for anyone experiencing sexual violence. You can find a list of services at endingviolencecanada.org. A community in Maple Ridge, BC is looking for answers tonight after a couple in their 60s and a dog were killed and another neighbor dead from an apparent suicide. Police say it all began with a neighborhood dispute. John Hernandez now with how the violent night unfolded.
In this quiet suburban community, utter shock. 3 people dead, 2 cars up in flames, all following a neighborhood dispute.
Well, I see it on the news, but you don't expect it here.
Police were originally called to this street in Maple Ridge, about an hour east of Vancouver, on Wednesday evening because of a conflict between neighbors.
They spoke to people involved in an incident before leaving a short time later.
Then 3 hours later, around 10:45 p.m., residents heard gunshots, then 2 cars were set on fire.
So we were sleeping outside on her trampoline, and we just heard 3 gunshots, and we got really scared, so we went inside.
Went outside, and the neighbors started telling me he's shooting, and kind of rounded everybody up, got them back inside.
Police found a couple in their 60s and a dog dead inside this home, the same home officers had responded to hours earlier. The suspect fled across the street.
Officers did set up a containment around that residence at the time. And then this morning at around 2:10, a man was found deceased inside that home from what appears to be, at this point, a self-inflicted injury.
Residents in the community say the victims were well known and lived across the street from the male suspect. The households said to have butted heads over street parking in the past.
A little shaken up. We moved about 4 months ago here, and we didn't expect this kind of drama in the neighborhood.
Police are asking any witnesses to come forward. Meanwhile, BC's police watchdog is trying to figure out if there's a connection between the original police response and the violent events that followed that night. John Hernandez, CBC News, Maple Ridge, BC.
Further north in BC, drones have mapped the rock fall that has trapped 3 drill operators deep inside a mine shaft. In a tunnel beneath this terrain is a section 20 to 30 meters long, clogged with rubble. Getting through safely would be a challenge anywhere, but more than 500 kilometers north of the nearest sizable city, Terrace, the Red Chris mine is extremely remote. Reporting from there tonight, Lindsay Duncombe.
On the other side of this gate, workers worry about 3 colleagues trapped so deep underground.
It feels strange to be working right now knowing there's guys trapped right now.
Haul truck driver Andrew Craik spoke to us from inside the site.
Camp is a pretty eerie place right now. There's a lot of stressed people here, so I have lots of family members who are miners too, and they're pretty much in shock too with what's going on here.
The 3 workers are trapped 284 meters underground in a tunnel blocked by rock piled the height of a 2-story building. There has been no communication.
That whole length has to be secured and stabilized before you have safe entry into the area where the 3 people are trapped.
It's believed they're in a refuge room like this one, with enough food and water to support 3 people for at least 2 weeks. Speaking to reporters for the first time since the incident, Newmont's head of safety said there is natural airflow to the area.
So that is what we are here about today, is to make sure that we get them out safely.
Crews are using specialized drones and a remote-controlled scooper to clear debris.
It's going to take just to simply remove the debris that's already there, probably around 200 trips.
Our first priority is to establish communication with these individuals, and that continues to happen as we speak.
The main site of the Red Chris mine is an above-ground open pit. The 3 workers were working on an underground planned expansion. Newmont says there were 2 ground fall collapses in the same area. The workers managed to reach the first refuge after the first collapse, then the second cut off contact with the surface.
These underground mines are quite safe, but like any construction site, there's always things that can happen in terms of accidents, and there is always uncertainty in the geology to some degree.
And at that briefing, Paul, I asked the official about the timing of what happened and when surface operations were shut down. What he said was that it was a few hours after the initial fall, and stressed, Paul, that there's quite a distance between the 2 sites and no relation between what happened underground and what happened on the surface.
And Lindsay, do we know anything more about the 3 miners, the drill operators?
Yeah, just in the last little bit, Paul, we have received names of the drillers who are trapped underground. I can read them for you now. They just came in, so I'm not clear on my pronunciation. Kevin Coombs is a driller from Ontario. Darian Madouk is a driller's helper from British Columbia. And Jesse Chubati is a driller from Manitoba. Certainly the friends, the families, everyone thinking about those workers trapped so far below ground as the efforts are ongoing just to get in touch with them and to try to get them out.
Thank you, Lindsay. The CBC's Lindsay Duncombe reporting not far from that mine in northern BC. Many in the world of professional wrestling are mourning tonight after the sudden death of Hulk Hogan. Hogan's style and stature captivated sold-out stadiums across the globe, bringing a niche sport into the limelight. Makda Gebrselassie now with his legacy in the ring and the controversy that followed.
And what you gonna do?
Known for his memorable catchphrases, massive frame, and famous leg drop, Hulk Hogan is an icon of pro wrestling. Credited with ushering the entertainment form into the mainstream, he fired up fans over generations with matches against greats like the Iron Sheik, Andre the Giant, and even The Rock at WrestleMania 18 in Toronto.
There's not a country in this world that does not know the name Hulk Hogan.
His real name was Terry Bollea. His death coming after emergency crews were called to his Florida home. Suffering from cardiac arrest, he was taken to hospital but died late Thursday morning.
It's always that guy that wanted to put a smile on people's faces.
Tributes are flooding social media. WWE calling Hogan one of pop culture's most recognizable figures. Wrestler Ric Flair recognizing him for being an incredible athlete, talent, friend, and father.
We can all try to emulate him. We can all try to, have that Hulk Hogan tan that's so famous and bring that star power. But at the end of the day, there's one and only one Hulkster.
Outside the ring, Hogan went Hollywood, appearing in films like Rocky III and Mr. Nanny. Reality TV came calling too.
He had charisma, he had presence, and he also brought upon a lot of controversy on himself over the years.
That includes the fallout from a leaked sex tape in 2012. Hogan sued Gawker, a former gossip site, for posting the video. Audio transcripts revealing Hogan making racial comments, including the N-word, would also come to light. Hogan apologized and was fired from the WWE.
Let Trumpomania run wild, brother!
A Trump supporter, Hogan's politics proved to be polarizing too. During a recent wrestling appearance, he faced a chorus of boos.
He was not ready for that. He thought he was bigger than the business.
Still, Hogan maintained a massive fan base, remembered by many who grew up cheering him on. Hulk Hogan was 71 years old. Magda Gebrselassie, CBC News, Toronto.
French President Emmanuel Macron announced that his country will recognize a Palestinian state. In a statement, he said, as a path to peace, quote, there is no alternative to building a viable demilitarized Palestine. France would be the first G7 country to recognize a Palestinian state. He says France will make it official at the UN General Assembly in September. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu condemned the move, saying it rewards terror. Clashes between Thailand and Cambodia across their shared border have killed at least 12 people, according to Thai officials.
No.
Residents ran for cover as the two countries exchanged artillery and small arms fire. Thailand launched airstrikes and called on citizens within 50 kilometers of the border to evacuate, sealing crossings into Cambodia. Each side blames the other for starting the fighting. They've disputed their shared border for decades. The last major clash was in 2011. Canada's running out of time to avoid steeper U.S. tariffs when the August 1st deadline hits. And as Katie Simpson shows us, after 2 days of meetings in Washington, there's skepticism a trade deal will be reached in time.
Team Canada returning to the U.S. Capitol.
Good morning. Hi, Katie. How are you?
In the hopes of finally getting to a breakthrough, pushing Canada's case with Republican lawmakers while hoping to learn more about the president's thinking in meetings with senators who are tight with Donald Trump, like Tim Scott, who later joined the president for an unrelated outing in Washington. And there was FaceTime with Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, who is leading the negotiations for the Americans. These kinds of meetings have been going on for months, and even though the team appears to be in good spirits,
Hi, Katie. Hi, how are you? I'm well, thank you.
they're realistic a deal does not appear imminent.
We're going to continue to do the difficult work and take the time necessary until the Prime Minister decides that the deal that's on the table is the best deal we can get. So we've made progress, but we have a lot of work in front of us.
Tariffs on Canadian goods will go from 25% up to 35% starting August 1st, unless a new agreement with the U.S. can be reached, though exemptions for CUSMA-compliant goods will continue.
I wish that I could say it feels good that this is all going to be taken care of before the 1st of August, but I'm not sensing that.
With tariff relief seeming unlikely, Canadian officials hope new supports to help workers and businesses will buy negotiators a little more time.
Some of the measures that have been taken, including in steel last week, are designed to help us have the room that we need to get where we need to go.
Trump seems to be focused on reaching deals with countries that don't have a free trade agreement with the U.S., ones that face far more significant tariffs should they not cut a deal by August 1st. The Canadian delegation returns to Washington next week, even as there's little hope right now for a breakthrough. Katie Simpson, CBC News, Washington.
1 year after a devastating wildfire ripped through Jasper, the trauma is still fresh for some.
It was terrible, and that's all I could say. This is terrible.
The toll it continues to take on mental health. Next. Plus, concert permits denied for a musician with MAGA connections and some controversial views.
I have not felt this level of resistance in a long time.
And later, a second chance at life for a young horse.
We're looking to our right, and there's this foal that's caught in the water that can't get out.
The paddlers who came to the rescue were back in two. Firefighters are back on the front line in the northern Manitoba town of Leaf Rapids. Officials say emergency crews had to retreat briefly last night when the situation became too intense. However, conditions have since improved and only one home was damaged. Leaf Rapids has been under a state of emergency since July 7th, when its 350 residents were ordered to evacuate. It's now been a year since a wildfire reached the town of Jasper, Alberta, where it swept through neighborhoods, destroying hundreds of homes and businesses. Julia Wong now with the continued psychological toll of the traumatizing experience.
Melody Gabbery-Scott says experiencing Jasper's natural beauty continues to help her recover 1 year after the devastating wildfire that changed so many lives.
The first time we came back, I was like vibrating inside, shaking. It was terrible, and that's all I could say. This is terrible.
She lost her house in the fire and is still coming to terms with it.
The fire affected our mental health and our physical health too.
Roughly 5,000 people live in Jasper, and processing this destruction has been hard, even more so for those who also had to respond to the wildfire.
As Jasperites, it's a story of resilience.
Jasper's incident commander, Christine Nadon, lost her home, as did several firefighters and other first responders. Now, help for them comes in-house.
Like our department is working with a psychologist for follow-ups and assessments and making sure that we give our members everything we possibly can.
Help is also available for other residents. The Red Cross says financial help for therapy will be available as long as it's needed.
It's really the right thing to do, and people need that support. At the end of the day, that could be counseling, that could be, a traditional healer.
It really depends on, I guess, what you do at the moment now.
Jasperites can do a few things to help them on their recovery journey, says this psychologist.
You focus on what you can do in the now, and you look at those goals, those short-term goals, and you put your energies there, because really that's what you have control over.
For Gabbery-Scott, that means channeling her energy into walks, exercise, and being with her community.
Focusing on being grateful for what we have and grateful to all the people that have supported us.
Support as the community marks a somber anniversary. Julia Wong, CBC News, Jasper, Alberta.
Concert permits have been denied in multiple Canadian cities for a controversial American Christian rocker.
I can encourage people to have nothing to do with them, but I don't have a right to silence them.
The questions being raised about freedom of expression. Plus, 5 former Hockey Canada players found not guilty of sexual assault.
Justice Caracia rejected EM's claims.
We will carefully review Justice Caracia's decision.
2 criminal defense lawyers weigh in on the judge's ruling and what it could mean for future cases. And Canadian Forces members charged with terrorism-related offenses.
Anything that's ideologically motivated is now something that we are worried about.
Does Canada have an extremism problem in the military? The National breaks down the stories shaping our world next. A controversial American musician has had multiple Canadian concert permits either denied or revoked. Sean Foyt calls himself a missionary, and he's affiliated with the MAGA movement. Kayla Hounsell shows us the pushback and the debate it sparked over free speech.
It is a summer of revival in the nation of Canada, and
Sean Foyt was embarking on a nationwide tour.
I have not felt this level of resistance in a long time.
His permits to perform in public spaces in multiple Canadian cities have been revoked or denied, but he's finding private spaces to continue.
Fling wide the gates of Canada.
Foyt calls himself a musician, a missionary, and an activist. He speaks out against the 2S LGBTQ+ community.
I call them the Rainbow Mafia, the LGBTQ activists.
And abortion.
Strips Planned Parenthood of all of their money, this death cult.
I'd like to congratulate Sean Foyt.
He's considered a rising star within the MAGA movement in the United States. His first Canadian event this year was supposed to be held here at York Redoubt National Historic Site in Nova Scotia, but there was public outcry.
What I want to know is how this got approved in the first place.
Then Parks Canada revoked his permit, citing safety concerns. Various municipal governments have followed suit.
I think that just shows a lot of respect for the queer community on their end.
In a statement, Foyt says, if I had shown up with purple hair and a dress claiming to be a woman, the government wouldn't have said a thing. But to publicly profess deeply held Christian beliefs is to be labeled an extremist and to have free worship events classified as public safety risks.
It was very peaceful.
These Nova Scotia pastors hosted Foyt at their home Wednesday night.
He was here and had no political agenda, just the gospel and his love for Canada. We got slandered with
a lot of abuse,
a lot of very hateful emails, texts.
This expert says limiting free speech is a fine line.
Because somebody says something I find hateful is not a justification for silencing that person.
Foyt is planning another leg in Western Canada next month, including one at the Alberta legislature. It's unclear whether those events will proceed. Kayla Hounsell, CBC News, Halifax.
And now it's time to break down the stories shaping our world. Extremism in the military, a long story with a new twist.
I think we've seen an uptick in individuals engaging with the movement.
But first, high emotion and hard questions. As a judge clears 5 hockey players of sexual assault, igniting a firestorm of opinion.
Every survivor needs support.
So we're asking highly experienced lawyers to drill down on the judge's ruling. David Butt and Lydia Riva, criminal defense lawyers who've been following the case, join me now. And David, you know, if this was a jury trial, I guess we just have a thumbs up or thumbs down, guilty or not guilty, right? But
that's right.
Here we have a judge's ruling, and you know, it's not brief, right? But the judge was able to go into detail on the rationale behind the ruling. What is your sort of, having heard it and read it, what's your takeaway from it?
The judge did a very deep dive on a core issue, which we see every day in courts. Who do I believe? So that's a central issue when you have diametrically opposed perspectives on an event. The judge really has the very difficult task of sorting out what evidence do I accept, what evidence do I not accept, and most importantly in a criminal case, what evidence might give me pause or reasonable doubt. And that's really where she focused the bulk of her analysis.
Were you surprised by the way things played out?
I'm not surprised by the verdict. It's a high burden of proof. The Crown had to prove lack of consent beyond a reasonable doubt, and the burden of proof is higher to absolute certainty than it is to a balance of probabilities. There were issues in the complainant's evidence, issues around her reliability and credibility, contradictions in her evidence at trial compared to other statements that she made previously. So I'm not surprised that this was a not guilty verdict for all 5 defendants.
It's important to remember that it is a criminal trial. That's why the bar is so high, right? London police, as we all know, closed the case back in 2019, right? And it was sort of put over there. A number of lawyers for the defendants made the case that they criticized even the laying of charges at all. Let's give a listen to a clip.
Every single feature of the evidence that Justice Caracia identified today as fatal flaws for the Crown was known to prosecutors and to police from 2018. Today's outcome was not just predictable, it was predicted.
Meanwhile, one of the lawyers for the accused, Alex Formanton, said the Crown forged ahead with, I'll read the quote, a hopeless prosecution. Hopeless prosecution. This one to you, David. I mean, what do you think? Should the Crown have gone ahead? Should they have laid charges?
Absolutely, yes. And here's the thing. You have very serious allegations, and you have a complainant who the Crown interviews, the police interview, has not been cross-examined. The defense lawyers have not done their job yet. And it's the duty of the Crown to put forward reasonable allegations, let a judge hear them, let the defense attack them, and let an impartial jurist make an ultimate decision. We all win if those cases play out in the public and an impartial adjudicator pronounces publicly on the outcome, rather than a prosecutor making a decision behind closed doors to go ahead or not go ahead with a decision that could dramatically affect the life of a person who identifies as a sexual violence survivor.
EM's lawyer also spoke. There was, all the lawyers came out after the ruling today. EM's lawyer was one of them. And let's give a listen to that clip.
Her choice to testify came at a great personal cost. 9 days of testifying was more than she ever expected. Her treatment during cross-examination at times was insulting, unfair, mocking, and disrespectful.
So we got that. Meanwhile, we heard from the judge on the same issue, and I'll read another quote here. The time spent, particularly in the cross-examination of EM, was entirely appropriate. Lydia, to you. This gets to a thing I think a lot of people are wondering. How do you balance the well-being of the complainant, right, with the rights of the accused? What are your thoughts on that?
I think a skilled cross-examination of a complainant doesn't have to be abusive, it doesn't have to be mocking, and I don't think it was in this case. A lot is at stake for the defendants. Their liberty is at stake, their ability to have an income, their family relationships, all of these things are at stake for an accused person. It's a very serious matter, and the state is presumably, in this case, trying to take away the liberty of the defendants. So to balance that, I would argue that they were respectful to the complainant. They asked her hard questions. They did challenge her evidence, but we have an adversarial system, and we got an outcome which, in my view, was the right one.
We also heard from EM's lawyer that how the impact of being told you're not believed is resting with her. David, you have represented both sides in these kinds of circumstances, the complainants and the accused. I wonder about conversations you might have with a complainant ahead of such a process. Will this affect what you say to complainants? Because you don't know how it's going to play out.
It will solidify what I say and have been saying for years. I think Lydia is entirely correct that if you look within the parameters of the criminal justice system as it's currently constructed, it's difficult to criticize this outcome. The bigger problem is, can we actually do better with a range of alternatives? Why adversarialism in every case? If we can move outside of that and look to restorative options for some appropriate cases, then we can spare complainants the kind of trauma that this complainant endured during this and cross-examination. And I'm not criticizing the lawyers. They did their job according to the rules as they currently are. My point's a very different one. We have to have alternatives that approach these issues differently.
What are your thoughts on that, Lydia? I mean, I think that, weirdly, it's gut-wrenching and life-upturning, that's a phrase, for both sides here, for the hockey players, for EM. Where are we at the end of all this? What do you think?
I don't think this is necessarily going to fundamentally change the way criminal trials are done, although I should say other cases where there was a lot of public scrutiny did lead to changes in the law, and I'm thinking in particular the Gomeshi case. But I don't think this is necessarily going to change the way the law is done. But I do think it's a testament to the fact that we have a system that works, that the burden is high for good reason, and that this is the process that we have. And if we really care about sexual assault and addressing sexual assault, we need to have good sexual assault laws, and that includes having a defense, because otherwise it would be meaningless. If we didn't have due process, if we didn't have a system where the Crown actually has to prove the case, then the law is meaningless.
Thank you, both of you. Very thoughtful. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank
you. Coming up, extremism in the military has been in the headlines recently with charges against Canadian Forces members.
I think we've seen an uptick in individuals engaging with the movement.
How big a problem is it, and what can be done? We'll break that down next. As alleged extremists in the armed forces appear in court, we ask why the military struggles to root out radicals.
They're not sure where to report. They're not even sure what they're seeing.
Army life can appeal to the far right.
Centralized authority, the group structure, the hierarchy.
But the way that plays out is evolving. Jonathan Monpetit shows us how social media helps drive that change and why reform is so elusive.
Guns, dozens of them, seized by the RCMP, who suspected they were being stockpiled by far-right extremists in the Canadian military. 2 soldiers arrested, alongside 1 former soldier and 1 civilian cadet instructor. The charge? That they were all part of an anti-government militia plotting to seize a piece of land near Quebec City.
That ideology in general is an issue in Canada. Anything that's ideologically motivated is now something that we are worried about for sure.
The police operation was in many ways unprecedented. It's believed to be the first time that an active member of the military has been charged with a terrorism-related offense, and that weapons cache among the largest ever seized in a Canadian terrorism investigation. But suspected cases of extremism are not a new problem for the Canadian Forces. They've been trying to get a handle on this issue for close to 30 years. What do you think the military's track record is when it comes to dealing with issues of ideologically motivated extremism within its ranks?
The defense team needs to look at its past recommendations and reports that it did. There were a lot, and a lot of recommendations that were given, and there wasn't a whole lot of consistent follow-up on what they did. And those kinds of challenges.
Derek Montour, who served in both the U.S. and Canadian militaries, was part of a panel the federal government convened in 2020 to study racism and hate in the military.
And the resources to catch those things are limited, and training by leaders on what to do when they see it is limited, so they feel alone. They're not sure where to report. They're not even sure what they're seeing is accurate. All of, I think, those factors then breed a ground of vulnerability for these groups.
The Canadian military's first major reckoning with far-right extremism was in the 1990s, after paratroopers on a peacekeeping mission in Somalia tortured and killed a 16-year-old boy. An inquest revealed the airborne regiment had racist initiation rites, and soldiers often displayed neo-Nazi symbols. The unit was disbanded as a result of the scandal. Concerns about extremism in the military resurfaced in the 2010s when both former and serving members were linked to newer far-right groups, such as La Meute, started by veterans in Quebec.
It might have been like
And the Proud Boys, a white supremacist group now considered a terrorist entity.
Whatever the Proud Boys represents is not a shared value of the Canadian Armed Forces.
Around this time, a number of reservists were also engaged in more extreme neo-Nazi activity, including one who is now serving a 9-year prison term in the U.S. for his role in a plot to start a race war.
The imagery of the military and the centralized authority, the group structure, the hierarchy, these are all things that are super compatible, foundational really to most extreme right thinking.
Stéphane Lemont-Langlois is a professor of criminology who specializes in extremism. He says that while the overall number of extremists in the military may be small, their weapons training can make their radicalization more dangerous.
The extreme rights group, they know this, and this is why they want to get in, or they want to recruit people who have this experience.
Since the pandemic, both active and former military members have become more vocal in expressing anti-government opinions. A number of serving members took part in the 2022 convoy protests. And CSIS has been monitoring Diagolon, a group started by a veteran-turned-online influencer and which advocates for a civil war to create a white ethno-state.
What we've seen is more and more what I call networked individuals coming to the movement.
Barbara Perry is a professor at Ontario Tech University and one of Canada's best-known experts on hate groups. She says in recent years, extremists have been less interested in joining established groups and instead orient themselves around a grab bag of grievances.
So engaging, especially in those online spaces, and consuming and adopting some of the narratives that they are being exposed to, framing, if you will, their own grievances within the context of those conspiracy theories and ideologies. So I think we've seen an uptick in individuals engaging with the movement more so than the growth of groups.
After years of criticism that it wasn't doing enough to address extremism, the military set up a database in 2020 to track incidents of hate, racism, and other forms of discrimination. The military shared figures with CBC News that show how many reports it has received of service members promoting hate material, with 20 entered into the system this year alone. In a statement, the Department of National Defense said it was committed to making military culture more inclusive, adding, "While we have made great progress, we know that there is still more work to do." Canada is not alone in trying to root out extremism within its military, but in today's highly polarized political environment, these efforts have often been met with suspicion, and sometimes outright hostility.
In the course of conducting the review, I was personally, professionally attacked.
Bishop Garrison was asked by the Biden administration to look at extremism in the U.S. military, not long after the attack on Capitol Hill in 2021.
No one's trying to be the thought police. We're trying to ensure that people aren't taking that additional step to act on these types of beliefs.
Canadian researchers say they have also faced hostility from right-wing groups when trying to study extremism in the military. Garrison says the challenge is tuning out such partisan attacks.
Don't be afraid to ask the tough questions. Don't be afraid to have the awkward conversations around issues like this. This is the awkward conversations that help move these types of issues forward.
Like we mentioned earlier, Paul, 3 of the 4 suspects in the Quebec City case are facing terrorism charges. And if found guilty, they could be sentenced to up to 14 years in prison.
And Jonathan, I understand a bail hearing for these 3 suspects got underway today in Quebec City. What can you tell us about that?
That's right. Those 3 suspects were present in the courtroom today. They were handcuffed and sat quietly as a Crown prosecutor presented evidence to the judge, arguing that they should be denied bail. A 4th suspect, who was only facing weapons charges, was granted bail last week. Now, the evidence presented today in court is protected by a publication ban, but we can say the Crown requested a 2-day hearing because of the amount of evidence they wanted to present. So the suspects are scheduled to be back in court tomorrow.
All right, CBC's Jonathan Monpetit, thank you. Coming up, a baby horse gets a new lease on life.
Who goes for a raft and thinks, oh, I'm gonna save a horse today?
How 2 paddlers rescued the foal from an Alberta river. Next. This is Anna Glegg, pictured here with a baby horse who she had just rescued from the fast rapids of the Canada-U.S. River in Alberta. Glegg and her friend Ava Haddad led the distressed foal to safety, eventually reuniting it with its family. Tonight, their rescue mission is our moment.
Me and my friend Ava were paddling down the Canada-U.S. River. We first saw the horses and we were all excited.
We're looking to our right and there's this foal that's caught in the water that can't get out. It was making a lot of distress noises.
Ava ended up paddling the boat to the other side while I held onto this horse. We had him on shore, hoping that the rest of the herd would come back for him, because they'd all kind of run off.
If they didn't come back, we decided might as well just bring it with us. Anna strapped her life jacket around it. We put it in the boat, and it just had a little nap there.
He was pretty scared at first. We had kind of become his new companions. The First Nations group, Minithee, he sent down someone in a truck to come pick him up and brought him back to the herd.
It's good to know that this horse has a second chance at life, because if we weren't there that day, that foal wouldn't be here today. Who goes for a raft and thinks, oh, I'm gonna save a horse today?
It was just kind of like an unusual thing that just sort of happened, so it was a good feeling.
Come on, that would not have been easy. That's like next level rescue stuff, right? And look, let's be honest. The world would be a better place if there were more people like Anna and Ava. So hats off to them for that. From all of us at The National, thank you for being with us. You can watch us anywhere, anytime on the free CBC News app, and subscribe to The National's YouTube channel. I'm Paul Hunter. Take care.